used to, long time ago, I used to do these like recruiting talks, right, to high schools and stuff to get them to come to like a media program and all this kind of stuff. And it would be funny because one of the things I would kind of start with is this thing I would ask students as a quick, just hands raised survey of how much people, who has a Gmail account, who has a, this is, so hands go up. I'm like, well, how much are you paying for that? And you could hear the snickers in the room. They're like, this idiot doesn't know it's free. And so eventually someone would always say that, this was the bait, right? Then someone would say, it's free. We don't pay anything for that. And I'm like, you don't. And then of course, then it was just like, pull the curtain back. And it's like, what you're paying with, of course, is your data, right? And all your information and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, have you ever, even at this is going back more than a decade now, but it's like, even at that time, it's like, do you understand the transaction that you have engaged? Because the whole thing is not to say that that's bad. It's not to put a value on it of bad or good, because that's up to the individual to decide.
Sure, yes.
But the challenge with all of these things is when the actual cost of that transaction is buried or again intentionally hidden from you, so that you
and the
don't
consequences
know.
of that
And the
as well.
consequences, right?
Yes,
so because the way you'd always get these 18-year-olds or whatever to suddenly pay attention is you're like, well, how much would it be worth to you to know every website you've been to in the last 48 hours, the last week, the last month, and then and then give that to your parent or guardian.
Right.
Like, what would you do how much is it? Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you could see the look on people's faces all of a sudden. We're like, and how much would that be worth to you? And how much would you pay? Like now there's now you feel the cost, and it's just, but again, the whole point was to drive home this idea of the idea here is to be, especially in that area, which now is AI has come into that space, is to be informed about these trade-offs, these concepts, what is the values, and especially as we continue to move into these AI tools and systems, and the fact that they're popping up in everything else as well, whether they're through API calls that you're using some platform like Microsoft Word, and now all of a sudden you've got Copilot in there, whether you wanted it or not. And so you are engaging in these systems and in these tools, even in many cases, never knowing that you've given permission to do that, because they've kind of come in through a side or a back door or whatever. And it's a big issue.
And I think that's the bigger conversation. How do you help people sort of both make sense of that, but also have the ability to make choices?
I mean, and we are always making this compromise.
Right.
Our existence on the planet means we have a carbon footprint. We have resources
which
are being
where
used
it's
up.
not right or wrong. But there needs to be some sense of understanding.
It's the awareness.